What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today let's talk about money. One of the most common questions that I'm asked almost every day is how much does it take to start with Amazon FBA? Reality is that it is not an easy question to answer. That's why I delayed answering this question and making this video for months and months and months, but the day has come, and yeah, I prepared something for you that I think will be very helpful. Without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. The first section of this video, I will tell you about all of the different costs that will go into you starting your Amazon FBA business before you start your business. So how much you should save before you get started, okay? And in the second part of this video, I will take you through my Excel sheet calculation and basically the things that out of your margin that you do not need to save for when you first start your business, but it also goes into account, or you should also take it into account when you're making your calculation and when you're making your projections before starting your business, because it's also about money and profit and all of those nice things that we love. Yes, let's then start with how much money you need to save before you start with your business. First thing I want to mention is actually something that is optional, but that I would highly advise you save for and advise you starting by, and that is Marketplace Superheroes. Marketplace Superheroes is the only course that I recommend for anyone who's getting started with Amazon FBA in 2021 or beyond. When I first started, I did not know that Marketplace Superheroes existed, and I wish I did, because honestly it would have saved me years and it would have saved me so much money in the long run, because I made a lot of mistakes that were very costly, that were way more costly than the cost of the course, and I wish I would have invested in that so that I would have grown my business way faster. So yes, the reason why I advise you starting by investing in the course is because their product research method is amazing. It allows you to identify products that will make you a lot of money in the long run, and also allows you to getting started with your business from zero. They teach you everything you need to know up to the point where you have a big international Amazon FBA business if you want to, and also in a way that allows you not having to invest in any external technology in order to get your business going. I have a YouTube video reviewing Marketplace Superheroes and telling you everything about it in detail here, so you can go there and watch it, check it out in order to make your decision. That is the first expense that I would say it's optional, but I would highly encourage you to make. Otherwise, you may be looking at spending way more in the long run. And the second thing that I also think is optional, but you will need, especially if you do not go with Marketplace Superheroes, is Helium 10. Helium 10 is a software that ties with your Amazon seller account, and that will help you to do product research and manage your whole Amazon FBA business. As I said, if you invest in Marketplace Superheroes, you do not need to pay the monthly membership to have Helium 10 in your business, because Marketplace Superheroes teaches you a method in which you do not need it. However, I do use both in combination, and I talk all about it in this video. You can check it here, how I use it, my method, in order to select new products using Marketplace Superheroes method and Helium 10 together, just because it is that much safer. Helium 10 also has its own course inside once you're a member, so that's also nice. If you do not go with Marketplace Superheroes, then you can also learn from a good course inside the technology. Those are my two top recommendations, but they're also optional, okay? I want to talk about them before because they are very much tied to the first piece of starting a successful Amazon FBA business, which is finding a successful and a profitable product, right? And now let's assume that you went with both of these options, one of them the one that fits you the best. Let's then start with the things that are mandatory and that go into you starting your Amazon FBA business. The first thing that's very obvious that you will need to invest on and that you'll need to save for is your inventory. Now, it is kind of complicated for me to tell you how much your inventory is going to cost, because of course it depends on how much quantity of product you are buying, and also how expensive each product, each unit you are buying is. So for me, for example, my first order of my very first product on Amazon FBA, doing Amazon FBA, was 500 units, and each unit costs $2.59. So that was a total of $1,295 just in inventory, right? And this doesn't include the added packaging that I wanted. I wanted to change my packaging, so I actually purchased some special packaging from another factory. I think it was around $200, and I had it sent to my original supplier. Of course, it can be that you start with 100 units, or maybe you want to start with 1,000 units. It can be that your product costs 30 cents, or maybe it costs $5 per unit. So you should play around with it and see how much your first product, or maybe you have a few options for your first product that you found doing product research. And also maybe you can decide which product to go with first depending on your budget, right? This all depends, and I will also teach you how to use my Excel sheet in order to play around with your numbers to understand actually how much you can afford and how expensive can your inventory be, because you have also a lot of other costs that go into getting your product into the Amazon fulfillment center, not just the inventory itself. So this is the most important cost, I would say, even if perhaps it's not the biggest one. I will get there. But I also wanted to mention that when you order something through Alibaba, while you're talking to your supplier, you can ask to pay 30% when you place the order, and then 70% whenever the order is ready to be shipped. So that's good, and maybe you want to consider it in order to better manage your cash flow. Overall, I would advise you to save at least between $1,000 and $2,000 for your first order, just for the inventory part. Let's go to cost number 2, second cost that you need to save for before starting your Amazon FBA business, and that is freight. Of course, when you buy something from a factory, probably your factory is in China, and then you need it to be shipped to your location, right, in Europe or the US. When I first started my very first orders, I booked my freight forwarding, my shipping to Europe using Freightos. And I have a video all about it here. I really liked Freightos because it was very easy to navigate the whole freight forwarding topic. I just needed to go on the platform, tell them how many boxes I had, how heavy and how big the boxes were, and I knew that someone would pick the boxes up in my supplier and drop them whenever I would tell them to drop the boxes. So that was very, very easy. And I would still recommend it if you're afraid, if you're not really sure what you're doing. I would still recommend it because it is really convenient, and it is a good way to getting into the business. However, with time, I learned that it is cheaper and it is also more convenient. You have more involvement with your shipping if you contact a freight forwarder directly. So right now, as it stands right now, I work with DHL Freight, which is really great. I have someone that I email every time I have a new order, and then I tell them everything, and they do it all for me. So they pick it up, they bring it to Germany, they take care of customs, they keep it in their warehouse until I tell them that I want to send stuff to the fulfillment center of Amazon. So it's really, really easy, convenient, and it is cheaper than what I was used to paying with Freightos. Cost of freight again depends really a lot on how big your products are and also how heavy they are. But in order to continue with this demonstration, I will tell you how much I paid for my first order, and that was around 600 euros plus VAT. You should also account for VAT. Now, why is freight a topic? I get asked also a lot, why can't I just have my supplier ship it for me, right? Well, don't take this as financial or personalized advice. This is not. This is just my experience. What I was told by my tax advisor in Germany is that in Germany, apparently, we should not be doing DDP, which is exactly that. When your supplier takes care of the whole thing and you don't have to be accounted, you don't have to be responsible for the import, basically. So because of that, you should be responsible for your shipping, which is what I do. X works. I just have DHL take care of it for me, but I am actually responsible and paying for the whole thing. I just tell the supplier, don't worry, someone will pick it up. And that's what apparently we need to do as businesses in Germany, and I guess other countries in the European Union. Definitely research that and speak to your tax advisor about this topic before going for DDP. Okay, and the third cost that you should account for before starting your Amazon FBA is import taxes and all costs related to customs. And this one is a tricky one, and it's also a surprising one sometimes, so you should definitely save for that. So what you need to know is that each different product or product category has a different code, and it's called HS code. And each HS code corresponds with a specific tax percentage, okay? So some products I've seen have 6.5 tax, customs tax, import tax attached to them. Others have 19%, others have 0%, others have 8%, so it really depends. And when you're deciding if you should go for that specific product, you should definitely research the product and account for that percentage, import tax percentage, into your costs, because it can very well change whether you selling this product is something that will make you money or actually will be unprofitable, right? Don't worry, I will show you how I handle all of that in my Excel sheet shortly. Just stay tuned. That is very important, and for my first shipment, I can tell you my product paid 19% import tax, which I think is the most I've ever seen. That's the maximum I've ever seen. And this 19% was, I think, something like that, okay? Of the cost of the product, so $2.59 per unit that I paid to the supplier, plus the shipping costs. That was the base that was then taxed, and that plus VAT, okay? So that's also important. VAT in Germany is 19% for this type of things at the moment, so yeah, that also adds to the cost. Finally, the last cost that are significant costs that you should save for before starting your Amazon FBA business is to actually start your business, to register your business. The cost for starting your business will depend very much on where you're based. If you're in Germany, if you're in Portugal, if you're in Spain, if you're in the US, of course that will change, but you should definitely account for that and do some research on those lines. And also it will depend on the type of business that you are starting. So if you're starting a corporation, if you're starting a single person business, if you are starting a partnership, it really depends. So definitely decide on your legal form and then do some research on the cost of that. For me, I started the simplest company possible and I paid 150 euros for it. So as I said, the amount that you should save before you start your Amazon FBA business will really depend on what you're shipping, how heavy each product that you're shipping is, how big it is. It really depends, but I can tell you the cost that you should look out for and how much I paid when I started my business. So inventory, I paid around 1,500. Freight forwarding, I paid around 700 euros. Import, I paid around $500. So overall it was around 2,700 euros, dollars, okay? The reality is that you should have more money than that, and also how much you need to save, again, will really depend on what is your product, and you should do your specific case because it will vary widely depending on what the product is and also how profitable and if you will make your money back is the most important thing, because more importantly than you having the money to invest is you making sure that that money returns, right? And the way you make sure that that money returns is by being very careful, by playing around with all of the money, all of the costs that go into you selling on Amazon. And that's what I want to share with you now on part 2 of this video. Because the reality is that there are more things that go into your margin, that cut into your margin, apart from inventory, freight, and import. Okay, there's a lot more, and that's what I want to show you now on my computer. So now I will show you an Excel sheet, and I don't want you to be scared, particularly if you do not have experience with Excel, with accounting, with numbers. Like, this is fine. You just need to understand all of the different things that go into your costs and that cut into your costs. Honestly, anyone can learn this. It's just a matter of, do you want to learn it? Do you want to spend the time trying to understand it? And if you do, then it's here for you to understand, okay? And with time and with practice, it all will make sense and it will all come together. It will become easier, okay? So just keep that in mind, don't be scared, and watch this video several times if you need to. Also, you can access this exact Excel sheet. I prepared it for you. Just go to my website, the link is down below, download my freebie, and it is in, I think, the last page of my freebie, the link to the drafts dummy accounting sheet, okay? So here's the accounting sheet. Here you have some instructions you can read later. Also, it tells you that this is not financial advice. This is literally what I used when I was starting, and I'm not a professional, just to help you out, okay? And please change it, modify it as you want. And what I want to talk about today is this one, cost of goods, product one. On column D, it's the explanation of what each of these things is, but I will just guide you through it as we go, okay? So on the part one of this video, we spoke about the cost per unit, okay? And I told you I spent $2.59 per unit on my first product, my first the first order I did. This is what you see here, $2.59, and then I have converted it to euros because yeah, that's my currency, but you can also just delete that if you want to. So this one we discussed already on part one, and then we spoke about freight forwarding costs, which is this one, shipping costs from China. We also spoke about import tax, which is this one. So these are already covered, and these are the ones that you need to save for. I also talked about new packaging. That's before. That's something you discuss with your supplier. So that's also before. Company start also. So that's all there. Okay, we didn't talk about it, but samples. Yes, samples, it's a minor cost, but you should also save for that, and you should expect to pay between $50 to $300, depending on, the normal is $50. The majority of the products, the supplier will ask you to pay $50 for a sample, which is actually the shipping fee of the sample, but just save for that. But as you can see, we still have quite some costs here that we need to discuss. And these are costs that are important because they cut into your margin. First cost is the FBA cost per unit. And the FBA cost per unit is what Amazon will charge you for fulfilling your order. So if you want to do fulfilled by Amazon, then what you will do is you will receive your items from your supplier and you will send them to Amazon's fulfillment center. Every time an order comes in, Amazon will automatically take care of it and ship it to your clients, and this of course you pay for, and this cost depends on the size of the product and how heavy it is. And I actually like to use a tool that tells me how much I stand to pay. So very important cost that you'll need to get is the FBA cost per unit. What I like to do is literally I just chose a random product now, I get the ASIN from that product, and then I do the Amazon FBA calculator, cost calculator. I will link it down below as well. You put the A's in here, and then you can see how much this guy is actually paying for their FBA cost. So he pays €2.01 per unit. So then if this would be your product, you would put here €2.01. In my case, it was a little bit more expensive, €4.39, which is significant. So you need to account for that. And this one, FBA cost per unit, times the number of units will give you the FBA cost, which is the overall amount that you are paying for FBA costs in your total order, right? So this is what you have here, and by now we already covered this one and this one as well. FOB cost, this is actually X work costs. Let me change this. So these are all also covered, we just talked about it. And another cost that you'll have that Amazon will put on or take from your margin actually is a referral fee, because your traffic actually is Amazon's traffic and they will charge you for that. And the majority of the categories, Amazon charges 15% of of your sale price. So here that's what you can find. You have 15% of your selling price, and in this case I wanted the overall bulk return on investment for the shipment, so I also multiplied it by 500. But if I would remove the 500, then you see, so per unit Amazon takes €1.95 out of my margin. Let's put this back. So that's it. And then little costs that I have here is shipping to Amazon, and this is when you have your box and you want to send it to Amazon's fulfillment center. You go into Amazon's Seller Central and you create a shipment, and then they give you the shipping label. It's usually very cheap and you send it to them. That's really easy. I still put it here because I want to have my numbers right up to the penny, but it's neglectable, as you can see, in the grand scheme of things. And then something very important is marketing costs, because most likely most products need some marketing investment. And this product, my first product, actually after the first shipment I did not have to pay for marketing anymore because the competition was kind of bad, so I'm naturally selling even if I don't invest. But most likely you will have to pay for marketing, especially in your very first or first few shipments. So here what I wrote was arbitrarily 300, but actually if you advertise on Amazon, then you're talking about PPC, pay-per-click advertising. And the way it works, the way you should try to predict is that you should aim to have specific ACOs. So let's say when I was running ads for this product, the best that I could get it was that for each unit I only needed to spend 10% of the cost of the units to sell one. So 10% of my margin was going to marketing. So actually I should save 600 or I should expect that 650 euros will be out of my total profit because I will spend it on advertising, on marketing, right? 10% is actually really good. So let's say in your very first campaigns maybe you get 40%. Granted, probably not all of your units will be sold through advertising, so we can make like 50% of your units will be sold and you will get maybe that has the 40% ACOs. Now this is something you should not aim for, that it's that bad, but yeah, this is something that you should also then perfect for your second campaign. You will have a much better idea of how much it costs you to sell one unit, okay? And then you should adjust your projections accordingly. Yeah, so that covers marketing costs. And that's pretty much everything that we have here. If you sum all of the costs, then your cost per unit is 11.64 in this case, and your profit per unit is 3.5 euros almost. You profit 1.6k out of your initial inventory. Now this is the very basic version. That is perfectly fine if you're just starting out. However, if you scroll a little bit down, you will find a more advanced version that I will not guide you through today because I don't want you to be confused. But essentially what this second version includes, it includes also VAT costs, and VAT can be a little bit more complicated because if you're a company, you sometimes have to pay for VAT, but then you can get it back, and you need to charge VAT to your consumer, then you do the balance. It's a little bit complicated, and also I'm not a tax advisor, but as you get more into your business and you do research and you look for professional advice on this topic, then you should definitely include your VAT in your calculations. And you can use this model. This is still the model that I use whenever I'm doing my calculations per shipment. And the reason why I like to look at things per order is because sometimes when I launch a product, I need to launch it a little bit cheaper than the market average, but I know that maybe on my second order I will already be able to compete on the market price. Maybe sometimes also marketing costs sometimes are a little bit higher on the first order, but because I have a little bit more experience, I understand that in the second order maybe I can tone that down a little bit. So I really like to do the projection per order, because even if it's like break even or even a little bit unprofitable in the first order, I need to make sure that it is profitable in the long run. And if I don't get that, then maybe it's not worth it to invest. Or yeah, I just like to have that sort of view. So yeah, everything's here. I would really like to hear your comments. Like, let me know down below if you have questions on this. What are your questions? Because I can do a part 2 of this video in which I just explain like the questions and I go into the details of this, whatever you think is not clear. Because for me, I created it, of course it is clear, but maybe you think differently and maybe there's something else that you would want to see clarified. So you can grab the sheet down below. The link will be in my description for my free resources. You can find it on the last sheet or the second to last sheet of my free resources. And yeah, I guess we'll see you next time.